Hey everyone, it's Jo from Daisy here, and today is all about the future log. So the future log is the part of your journal where you do future planning. If you are new to bullet journaling, this is the bit where you can log everything that's going on for the rest of the year, even though you maybe have only set up the week ahead or the month ahead in your journal. This is what makes the bullet journal work. So I'm going to create a future log. I'm going to do it for the next 12 months, so starting from June 2023. And I'm going to have areas in there for me to record kind of repeating annual things like anniversaries and birthdays, but also areas for me to put kind of work planning, projects that we've got going on. It's going to be a hybrid of all of those. I am going to do a Dutch door. You know I love a Dutch door for this future log. So you'll see how that works. And yeah, let's get going. Okay, I'm ready to create. I've got everything I need. I'm going to be using Don't Worry, Be Happy washi tape as my kind of theme, I guess, for the beginning of this journal. I've already done the cover page, which has got the reasons that I journal and a key. The font that I'm using for the beginning section of my journal is Blossom. So this is the kind of Blossom stencil that's in the shop. The 5cm one was a VIP exclusive. I'm going to be using that throughout the entire first section. Also the Be Awesome days and date stickers, that's in Blossom as well. So it all matches really nicely. A key part of what I'll be using to set up the future log is our vertical numbers and day washi tape. And I also have my rainbow boxes. So I'm going to get going. I'm going to start planning. The first double page spread will be kind of an intro and my goals for 2023. And then this is the section where I'm going to have tabs, and each tab will cover 4 months, because I'm going to have 4 months across a double page spread. Hopefully it'll all make sense when I'm doing it. And I'm going to start planning now. So let's go. So the first thing I need to do to create my future log is to create the Dutch door part of it, where the tabs will be to show me what page I need to be on for which month. So I'm dividing the side of the page into 3 equal areas. I'm just counting up the dots and working out how big each tab needs to be. I will have 1 dot grid space in between the tabs so that there's a nice clear mark between each tab, and I know what I'm looking at when I fold it over. So once I've created a kind of guide for what I need to cut, I cut my first tab here, which is what I'm doing. And I think this is a B5 journal. Each tab was 14 grid spaces long. I did right up to the edge of the page. So I'm just cutting away the extra paper, and then I'm leaving a space and counting 14 down on the second page, so that I've got my second tab created. You just see that I cut away the bottom piece now, and then do exactly the same for the third tab, leaving a space and then cutting the tab. I used the page before as my guideline, and then I've got, I think, 2 spaces at the top and the bottom, again, so that the tabs really stand out. And once I've got this is the basic structure for my future log. I will decorate these end bits of the pages as well, so that you can really see them stand out. I think I'm going to go in now. I've got those 3 tabs that you can just about see, and I'm going to go in and just tidy those page edges so that each page lies directly over the others. You can't see any edges. It's all really lined up nicely. There's just the center one was slightly off, so I'm just trimming a tiny bit off that page. And then you can see that I've got my tabs, and I'm going to decorate the page edges with the Don't Worry, Be Happy washi tape. This is the washi that I'm using for the whole beginning setup of this journal, so it holds it all together. This and the Blossom font are kind of the elements that bind the beginning pages together. I like to pick like a colour scheme or a font for those beginning pages so that it all looks cohesive when you go into the beginning of your journal. So I've just done one side of each of the pages, and I'm going to go down and decorate the other side. So basically that's right up to the page edge, and the only bit that's sticking out is the tab where I will have the information about what months are on each double page spread. I'm using a washi cutter just to tear off the end pieces. That washi cutter was actually from our Untamed subscription box back in March. It's one of my favourite things. I use it all the time. And last bit there, just tidying it off and making sure that I can see right up to the page edge. So I like to just have a little tidy around, and I've got the structure of my Dutch door, and now it's all about setting up those pages. So I need to figure out how big a box I need. And first of all, I go in with my B5 rainbow boxes because it's a B5 journal. And then I realised that because I've cut that section away, actually the A5 box is perfect. So I'm using the blue box from Rainbow Boxes. And what I want to do is have a section at the bottom of the page where I will have the calendar, so 1 to 30 or 1 to 31, so that I can write any recurring events or events for that particular year. And then above that, I'm going to create a section which is a little box, and that's going to be for my Oops-a-Daisy projects, launches, events, that kind of thing. So every month we'll have a title, which I'll do in a second, the box for Oops-a-Daisy, and the dates below so that I can add in any recurring events or standalone events for that year. So birthdays, holidays, bank holidays, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go through now and set up. As I said, it will be 4 months per double page spread. So I've got room for the Oops-a-Daisy box at the top, fits really nicely, and my monthly calendar underneath, made with the vertical washi tape. In case you were wondering, we do get a few questions about this washi. It does line up perfectly with a 5mm dot grid, so it's been designed so that the numbers will line up with your grid. So if you're using it for a habit tracker or a monthly calendar like this, it's very satisfying in that it works really nicely. We also have the equivalent horizontal design, so if you like your calendar or your tracker to go horizontally, we have that as well. So now I've added in the months at the bottom. I am then putting some titles into the boxes using our Be Awesome days and dates sticker sheet, which are in like a cornflower blue and an orange, which works really nicely with the Don't Worry Be Happy washi tape. And then I'm going to grab our vertical days of the week washi, and I'm going to pop that alongside the monthly dates so that I know what day is what. When I'm doing this, to avoid any waste, because you're basically going to follow on with the days from where you cut off, I know that as I hold the top of the washi, the first day that I tend to be able to see is the 4th day along. So I look on the calendar to see what day the 4th is, and then I line up. So if the 4th is a Thursday, like it was in that month, I line up the T for Thursday next to the 4, and it lines up at the top, and then there's no wastage in that washi tape as I'm sticking it down. I hope that makes sense. I'm then going to grab the Blossom stencil, and I'm going to pop a header on top of each month. So when I'm putting the header on, I do start with the middle letter. So for the month of May, the middle letter is A. So I start with the A and centre that above the box, and then pop in the letters either side. That's a bit of a top tip to make sure that your headers are centred. And I'm just adding in the holes of the letters there. And I'm going to go through and do that with the first 3 letters of each of the months of the year, just to give it a little bit of a standout header, so that I can see what month I'm looking at when I flick through the pages. So just following through there with July, and then I'm going to add August after that. Once I've done that, that's the first 4 months of the year sorted, and I do just carry on my future log from where I'm at. So because I'm setting this up in May, I'm starting my future log up in from May, and then I'm going to carry on 12 months from there. And I've now got to go through and set up the following 8 months in exactly the same way. So I'm going to let you listen to some music while I do that, and I will come back to you once I've got the month set up and I'm ready to create my goal tracker. So now I've got all 12 months set up, I'm going to do a little bit of decorating at the end of the pages. So what I want is to put a contrasting colour on that end piece of the last double page spread, so that when the tabs are sat on top of it, they really kind of pop and it's really obvious that they're tabs. So first of all, I grabbed some dot grid paper, some A5 dot grid paper, but obviously that wasn't big enough for my B5 journal. Then I realised I had this really nice orange paper that was actually from our Dream It Planet Do It box, and I thought that worked perfectly. So I've gone along the edge of that page with glue and the edge of the page that I'm sticking it to with glue, and I'm just going to stick down that orange paper. And then I need to cut off the excess. So from here you can see my Bite Me spread. If you want to see the setup for this, there is a video on the YouTube channel. I'll link it on the screen now. This is a tracker for tracking kind of hormonal perimenopausal symptoms. So if you want to watch that, you can hop over and have a look. But I suggest you finish watching the future log first. So I'm just trimming off the excess so that I've got a nice clean edge, and then just rounding off the corners so that it matches the journal. And now I have 3 lovely tabs that really show up on that orange background. So I'm really liking how they look. I then thought about how I wanted to mark out on them what months were included within each tab. And I did consider just writing the months on it. Then I was going to use stickers. And I thought, actually, this is really nice. So I've got different coloured numbers to represent the months. So 5, 6, 7, 8 is obviously May, June, July, August. 9, 10, 11, 12 is September, October, November, December, and then January, March, April. And what I've done is pop those on those tabs so it really matches the whole colour scheme that I've used. And then I'm going to go ahead and use the contrasting colours on the back of those tabs. So I'm just going to create that orange page edge on the other side. So when the tabs are flipped the opposite way, you get exactly the same effect. Meaning it kind of works in both directions really, just using a bit more of that orange paper and sticking it down using a roller glue, making sure that I've covered everything that I need to cover, and then I'm going to trim off the excess so that it's nice and tidy again. And there you can see my cover page that I created, and you can see that in a separate YouTube video that is all in the same playlist of this journal setup. So if you want to watch everything that I've done to create this journal, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm just rounding off that corner so that that's nice and neat. And then you can see that this is the makings of a really nice journal spread. I'm really liking this future log. It's working really well for me. So what I wanted to do, or what I was planning on doing with this double page spread, was my goals for the remainder of 2023. So I've added my little bee gonk in the corner. I am going to add some more washi tape there before I go ahead and stick him down, her down. Her name is Bumble, and she is our gonk to match our Be Awesome range. We have a gonk to match most of our ranges, on the newer ranges. And then I'm going to use the Blossom font 5cm stencil. This was a VIP exclusive stencil, to write out 2023 on the centre of this page, in a nice chunky numbers so that you can see them. And once I've got that completed, I'm then going to have a think about what I want to include on this page. So as I said, I was going to use it as a goals spread, and then I was thinking, actually, you know what? I've created goal spreads before at the beginning of my journal, and I don't tend to use them. So I flicked back through my previous journal and had a look at what spreads I really liked. My favourite spread was actually one I created as a memory spread from a holiday from last year, where I'd used photos and kind of doodles around it. And I really liked how it turned out, and I really like looking back at it. So I thought I'd do something similar on this double page, where I create a space for a photo per month for the rest of the year. And at the end of each month, I can look through my phone camera, decide which photo I want to print out, and then include it in this double page spread, so that over the course of the year I build up like a happy memories type spread that will be right at the beginning of my journal, so that when I flip back through this journal I really enjoy looking at it. So what I'm going to do is create little rectangles out of this orange dot grid paper. I'm using the blue rectangle from the A5 rainbow boxes because it's the exact same size as my sprocket photos print out. So I'm using it as a template to cut out the little squares, and they will be placeholders for photos. So once I've got those little squares cut out, I'll arrange them on the page and stick them down. And then when I print out my photos, I'll be able to add them on top. I'll put them slightly askew so that the orange almost acts like a bit of a drop shadow for the photo. And I think that's just going to be a really nice effect. So I am cutting some of the rectangles out of this purple dot grid paper. But once I lay it out on the page, I actually decide that I don't like the way that it looks. It doesn't really work with the other purple. It's a much darker purple. So I do end up just going back and cutting more out of the orange. But you only know these things when you experiment, and that's the part of the fun of journaling, is kind of playing around and seeing what works. So yep, I don't like it. I'm going to switch it out. So I am going to add in my little travel gonk, who is called Baggage, because some of these photos, will be about travel. So it seems fitting that he has a place in the double page spread along with Bumble. So it's Bumble and Baggage. And I'm just going to switch that out and then cut a couple more orange squares using my little template. And then once I've got those cut out, it's just a case of gluing them down onto the page so that I've got my place marked for once I have those photos. So if you're watching live streams with me each month in the future, feel free to give me a prod and ask me whether I've printed out last month's photo and added it to the spread. It'll be a good reminder for me to go back and actually do it. I'm a bit of a nightmare with my sprocket. I tend to use it loads and then put it away and forget that I have it. And I really like adding photos to my journal, so I'm going to try and do that more. Now I've got all my little rectangles in position. It's just a case of using my glue dot roller, which is my favourite type of glue to use in my journal because it doesn't take any drying time and it doesn't crease up the paper like a wet glue, like a PVA does, or even a Pritt stick, to be honest. I like the glue roller best. I've tried all the others and I've gone back to my old favourite. So now they're all in position. The last thing for me to do is colour in that 2023, and I'm going to do it in black lettering to match all the rest of the lettering that I've done throughout the beginning part of this journal, and using my Koi brush pen just to colour that in, because it's a lot quicker to colour a chunky letter like this with a brush pen than to use a fine liner. That would take absolutely ages. A little bit of a tip though is if you're using the fine liner and you're finding it difficult to get the kind of sharp corners on a font like this, is that I colour the majority of it with the brush pen and then I go in with my fine liner just to sharpen up the tips on the ends of the two, for example, just because it's hard to be precise with a brush pen. But I like the Koi. It's got a nice flexible tip and it makes colouring much easier, and for things like this it is definitely my go-to. I probably will end up having to replace this one because I think I'm going to run it out, but it's working okay at the moment. I've used it loads throughout the beginning of this journal because all of the lettering is in this Blossom font and coloured in a solid black colour. So just going through and doing the number 3, and then that is going to be my future log and memory spread all done. And I really like how it's turned out. I'm going to let you watch me finish up colouring in, and then I'll do a proper flip through and give you the opportunity to kind of see it in a bit closer detail. One thing I've forgotten to do is that I need to add the numbers to the reverse of those tabs. So I'm going to do that now. And you can see that I make a bit of a rookie error. I start whacking these stickers on because I think, oh, I'm so close to the end. And then I realise that the first tab isn't the first 4 months of the year. And then I have to move them down onto the bottom. Luckily, our stickers, if you use a craft knife like I'm doing, you can just get underneath them, and they are repositionable to a certain extent, so you can get away with making rookie errors like I have just done. So I'm just moving those stickers down. I do need a pair of tweezers so that I can position them better because it's tricky to do when you've got nails. So just adding on the rest of those stickers. So it'll be orange, purple, orange, and on the other side, they're purple, orange, purple, I believe. Just so that I've got a little bit of interest regardless of what direction you're looking at the pages. Okay, so I have finished my future log. I love it. I think this is going to work perfectly for me. So I kind of changed it on the fly. So this is my journal so far. I've got my cover page, the reasons that I journal, and my key. And then I was going to do this as a goal spread, but I flipped it and it's going to be a highlight spread instead. I think I need to stop focusing so much on goals and start focusing on being more present, so enjoying what's going on around me. So these little shapes are for me to stick photos over. One of my favourite spreads in my old journal was a spread that I did when I was away on holiday, and I included a load of pictures and just doodles around it of what was going on, and I loved it, and I think it's going to be really nice to look back at. So I'm hoping this will be the same. What I've created is kind of, I've followed the Don't Worry, Be Happy theme, and I've added in some orange, so that when you've got those tabs, they really like kind of spring up from the page. In case you're wondering what these numbers mean, they represent the months of the year. So this is May, June, July, August. So when I flip to that page in my future log, this is what's going on. These boxes here are for me to use alongside these little post-it notes, and they are for planning Oops a Daisy related stuff, because often the order of launches and things changes around, and then I get fed up because I've kind of lots of crossing out in my journal. So until I know that it's true, I can pop a little post-it note in the box and be like, okay, so July at the moment we're planning on a journal launch, but if the journals don't arrive in time, we can move that to August, and we can kind of move around what we're doing. So that's a work related plan. So it might be useful if you're, you know, including non-firm things in your journal. And then I've got each of the months, so I can pop in all of the birthdays and events and things that I've got going on for the next 12 months of the year. So yeah, I think this is a really, really usable spread, and my aim is to create spreads that I think I'm going to use, rather than, you know, creating habit trackers and never looking back at them, creating goal spreads and then literally never looking at it after I've done it. I want to only include things in this journal that are going to be functional or something that I'm going to enjoy. So that is my future log. I've then got my hormone tracker. Next pages after that is going to be a YouTube tracker, an about me page. I think I'm going to include a reading tracker because that's something I'm trying to do a lot more. When I'm on holiday, I love reading, and then I don't do it when I'm at home. So I'm trying to incorporate it into every day. Just read a chapter of my book before I go to bed. So I think I'm going to put a tracker for that. And then this is where June's going to start, and that is actually what I'm going to film next. So I hope you've enjoyed this setup. If you have, please hit subscribe. It means the world to me when I know that I'm creating content that people are finding useful or enjoying, even if it's just watching me change my mind as I'm going through the process. Yeah, thank you for watching. Hit subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye, bye, bye.